I'm Bototan Z, and I've been working in 3D CG for many years. I want to share various tips for creating 3D CG enjoyably, aimed at those who want to start 3D or make a career out of it. Recently, you can do almost anything with the free software Blender. The barrier to entry for 3D CG has certainly lowered, hasn't it? However, since Blender is professional-grade software used by experts, many people who saw the complex screen for the first time didn't know where to start and likely gave up. It was the same for me when I started, and I used to have depressing mornings. Therefore, I want to share the tips I've developed to create 3D CG quickly, easily, and enjoyably. Now, creating 3D CG is fun every day. To cut to the chase, the key is to create the rough shape quickly. If you can create the rough shape quickly and easily, you can spend more time on detailing afterward, and the work becomes enjoyable. How quickly and easily you can create the rough shape is the secret to making it fun. Blender is packed with the wisdom of 3D CG creators who have worked on it for years. So, if you learn the knowledge of these pioneers and utilize it well, you can become a creator who can make anything quickly. Once you grasp the tips and become able to create anything quickly and easily, 3D CG will truly become fun, and you'll become absorbed in creating. It's a wonderful era where fantastic software is available for free, and you can learn endless wisdom by searching online. I believe 3D CG will continue to develop and holds infinite possibilities. So I want to increase the number of people who can unleash their imagination. Let's go together into the world of infinite imagination. Now, when you open Blender, you see a screen like this, and you might feel overwhelmed, thinking there are many functions and a lot to remember. For now, I recommend trying to mimic the steps without overthinking. Even professionals can't memorize everything, so you'll gradually learn as you mimic. It's fine to only learn what you want to do. When you think, I want to do this, searching online usually gives you the answer. Where should you start with 3D CG? Even when drawing a picture, you start with a rough sketch. Just like drawing, 3D creation starts from a rough draft. It's easier to understand if you proceed with 3D using the same process as drawing. When you can create shapes quickly, like drawing, 3D becomes enjoyable. The process of detailed modeling is the same as painting or sculpting. In fact, 3D CG might even be faster and more efficient than drawing. There are many ways to approach this, but I want to teach you my method, the key to fun, fast, and easy modeling. I hope you use this as a reference and invent your own techniques for enjoying 3D creation. Incidentally, Bototan Z, was also created in Blender in a short period. I export the model in VRM format from Blender and run it using VSeeFace. I plan to make a video on how to create VTuber models someday. This time, I want to create this cute character that I drew. It's also a good idea to decide on the colors when you draw the initial picture. Once you open Blender, go to Preferences to set up your preferred environment. You can set the language to Japanese. You can also set up shortcuts in the key map. I use the industry-compatible setting because it's easier for me. It's best to choose the settings that are easiest for you for the operations you perform most often, such as manipulating the 3D view screen. First, delete the cube and camera. Then, drag and drop the designed image file into the viewport. The image is placed in the 3D view as an empty, and you proceed with the work while viewing it. The general workflow for modeling is as follows. 1. Combine meshes to create the large shape. 2. Integrate meshes and perform remesh. 3. Sculpt to roughly shape the form. 4. Perform retopology by remeshing with quads. 5. Use multi-resolution to increase the resolution and proceed with detailed sculpting. We will start by combining basic meshes to create the shape of the desired object. In the Layout workspace, add a Mesh UV sphere from the Add menu in the 3D view. This menu contains various mesh shapes, so choose and add the shape that is easiest to use. Since this character has a round shape, I will start by making the shape using a sphere. First, let's create the head. Select the object, right-click, and select Smooth Shade to make it smooth. Scale the head to be slightly oval. Since I want to add ears, I will duplicate the head sphere using Duplicate Object and move it up slightly before clicking. Scale it down to form an ear. To put an ear on the opposite side, set up a mirror modifier in the properties. When you select the central object, the ear appears on the opposite side. Since it is a modifier, any adjustments made are reflected. Next, we will create the body. Duplicate the head, place it below, and adjust the scale. The limbs, arms, and legs are created simply by duplicating the ear that already has the mirror modifier attached and placing it on one side, which automatically creates the other side. Now that the rough shape is complete, we will integrate the shaped objects. Select all objects that have the mirror modifier attached and perform Convert to Mesh. The modifier is applied and the object is converted into a mesh. Select all mesh objects and integrate them into one object using Join from the Object menu. Since the object's origin is likely offset, press Apply All Transforms to set the location and rotation to 0 and the scale to 1. You must do this, or the sculpting will become distorted. Double-click the object's name to rename it. Now, let's move to the Sculpting workspace. To sculpt the integrated object, we perform a remesh. Press the Remesh button in the top right of the 3D view, a menu will appear, so press the Remesh button below it. Apply the remesh using a large resolution first. Starting too fine will make it difficult to adjust the overall shape, so a large initial state is preferable. Make sure to check the Symmetry button so that sculpting is applied equally to the opposite side. To adjust the shape broadly, we use the Grab tool, found around the yellow icon tools. Start by adjusting the silhouette broadly, rotating and refining it. When sculpting, working with a tablet is recommended because it allows for intuitive operation just like drawing. Pressing the Shift key makes the surface smooth, so smooth out any bumpy parts with the Shift key. To smooth out bumpy surfaces, use the tools around the red icon. Do not over-detail here, as it will be lost during the subsequent retopology. Keep it relatively rough. Since the head and shoulder are connected, enable Dynamic Topology, and use the Crease tool, blue icon, to separate them. I will also use Crease to make a hole for the mouth. Using Dynamic Topology is effective for shaping large forms because it allows you to adjust the shape even with few polygons. If you use the snake hook while Dynamic Topology is enabled, you can pull out parts quickly. Since the fingers might disappear during the next retopology phase, leave them relatively rough for now. Once the main body shape is largely established, stop here and save the scene. Items that require a different texture should be created as separate objects. We will create the pants, belt, haramaki, eyes, nose, teeth, and eyebrows. Move to the modeling workspace. Turn on X-ray to view the back faces. Switch to polygon selection and select the polygons on the rough body mesh where you want the pants to be. Duplicate the polygons. To make it a separate object, use Separate to detach the mesh. A new object is created, so switch to Object mode. Select the new object, and then switch to Edit mode. Then apply the Solidify modifier, setting the offset to 1, which adds thickness and creates the mesh for the pants. Move to the Sculpting workspace and refine the shape with Sculpt tools. Creating other clothing follows the same process and allows for easy creation of outfits. Since the belt, haramaki, is a simple shape, I want to create a clean mesh from the start so that retopology is not needed. Add a cylinder. Remove the top and bottom polygons. Apply Solidify to add thickness. Then, subdivide the polygon slightly and refine the shape in the Sculpting workspace. For the eyes, add a new UV sphere, apply the mirror modifier, and adjust the position. Duplicate the eye to create the eyebrows. Since only one nose is needed, duplicate the eye, delete the mirror modifier, and place it. Arrange spheres for the teeth. Now the overall shape is visible. Next, while you could continue with detailed sculpting by making the mesh finer, this would require complex full-scale retopology. Therefore, we will shorten the process by using a simplified retopology that can be done with standard functions. Select the body object, and in the Remesh section under Object Data Properties, which is different from the Sculpting remesh, perform retopology. Set the mode to Quad and press QuadriFlow Remesh. Check Use Mesh Symmetry. Start by setting the mode to Ratio, roughly 0.5, and apply the remesh. Adjust the ratio value while observing the polygon size. Setting it by polygon count is also acceptable. Although the retopology resulted in clean square polygons symmetrically, holes sometimes appear in the center, so we need to close them if they exist. Switch to Edit mode, select the vertices around the center, scale the x-axis by 0.01 to bring the vertices as close as possible. Then, use Merge by Distance in the Mesh menu to merge the vertices that are close together. If they are still not connected, select the two vertices you want to connect and use Merge at Center in the Mesh menu to merge them at the center. If there are occasional areas where square connection is not possible, it is acceptable to use triangles. It is best to use the knife tool to tidy up the mesh flow as much as possible. Now the retopology is complete. Apply the multi-resolution modifier to this mesh to subdivide it and enable detailed sculpting. Pressing the subdivide button increases the level and the mesh is finely divided. It's best to start by subdividing the level to about 2 and proceed with serious sculpting while raising and adjusting the level as needed. For fingers, return the level to 0, select the faces and extrude them. You can then create the finger mesh and refine it with sculpting. From here, let's start serious detailing with sculpting. How is that, everyone? Once you get used to it, you should be able to complete this much in about an hour. It was surprisingly easy to create complex shapes, wasn't it? This method seems applicable to modeling both human characters and monsters. It's a good idea to repeat these steps for practice, or perhaps try creating a slightly more complex new character. If you focus on the work for a day, you might create something amazing. Once you have created the character shape, the next step is to apply materials and textures to paint the colors and set the surface quality. The continuation will be in the next video.
I will fight till my